Hey booktube, this is Kelly. Thank you so much for watching my channel, Books I'm Not Reading. I am joined today by Jason from Old Blues Chapter and Verse.
Special guest.
A special guest, yes.
Very
And also my husband. So, and we're here, I think we're joined even by a Halloween cat. Yes, because today is Halloween. Yep. Blue, our Halloween cat. And I am not exactly sure who created this, but I found this on Melanie Murphy's channel. It's not even really like a book kind of related tag, but I still thought it would be fun, and we are definitely going to talk about books in this tag. So let's get into the questions. Question number 1, what is your favorite Halloween movie?
I would probably say that the horror film I watched the most during Halloween, like at the time, is the original Poltergeist, directed by Tobe Hooper. Mm-hmm. But that is like nowhere near the scariest movie that I've seen. The scariest films that I've seen would include the original Exorcist, the Blair Witch Project.
The Blair Witch Project, definitely, yeah, that got me.
And then also the TV miniseries, or I guess it wasn't a miniseries, the old original TV movie of Salem's Lot,
okay,
which was on television like in 79, 80, 81, somewhere around there. Mm-hmm. And my brother and I don't know why we were allowed to watch it, but we watched it when we were very, very little, and it scared us so bad that we had boxes of these. They were like, you could buy like a big box of like tongue depressors, like those wooden sticks. And we sharpened the ends of them and glued them together and made crosses that could also double as like stakes for the heart after that. So
my favorite Halloween movie is The Nightmare Before Christmas. I don't really like scary movies, so this one kind of meets me halfway, but I love the opening sequence of it, and I've got my Jack Skellington shirt on, and I have some other Nightmare Before Christmas things, and of course we haven't watched this. We'll have to watch this tonight.
Yeah, we'll try to.
It's Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. So yeah, that's definitely a tradition. And another one we watched this year, and we typically watch it
last year too.
We typically watch it during Halloween, is Paranorman. And this is just such a funny like riff off of a lot of classic horror movies that yeah.
There's like one of the little kids in the movie, his cell phone rings, and it's John Carpenter's theme from Halloween.
Yeah.
Which is his ringtone, which I think is hilarious.
All right, so next question. If you were in a horror movie, how far would you get? I don't think we would do very well.
I would do fine.
You would do fine?
Yeah, I would do fine. The only thing that might give me away is I'm more of a huffer and puffer nowadays, so it'd be very hard for me to be as silent as I would need to be.
You couldn't be in The Quiet One.
No, the Quiet Place.
The Quiet Place.
Yeah, Quiet Place. No, I would get taken by. They're pretty scary critters.
Yeah. Well, and again, I don't really watch horror movies, so yeah, that's just not my jam. But okay, so let's talk about a couple books that we feel like are maybe appropriate for Halloween. I grabbed a nonfiction book since we're about to head into nonfiction November. This is Ghost Hunters, William James, and the Search for Scientific Proof of Life After Death by Deborah Blum.
Deborah Blum.
Blum.
Like Plum.
Blum. Okay. Anyway, and I read this on a recommendation from Jason, and I thought it was really, really good. Just very fair. I think you said she set out to prove that these people were all
so Deborah Blum she's a Pulitzer Prize winning science journalist, and she set out to write this book, essentially kind of putting the final nail in the coffin on William James and his kind of team of researchers and their investigations into the paranormal in the 19th century, and maybe even on into the early 20th century, if I remember right. And through the course of her research, through the process of writing the book, she came to believe in what they were doing.
Yeah.
They spent a lot of time, for instance, investigating a particular medium named Leonora Piper, and Blum herself, through the act of researching the book, came to believe that Leonora Piper, even if she was the only one, came to believe that she was a legitimate medium. And it's one of my favorite nonfiction books. I've read it multiple times. I've taught it. I sold a ton of copies of it when we worked for Barnes & Noble.
And persuaded me to read it.
It has, in my opinion, one of the great opening kind of sections or chapters. I guess it's like a prologue in the book that I've ever read. I mean, if you read the first 5 or 6 pages of Ghost Hunters and it doesn't have its barbs in you, then check your pulse. I guess which is appropriate for Halloween.
All right, so you want to talk about this book?
Yeah, so we'll talk about this here next. And this is one that Kelly and I have both read. This is The Little Stranger, a novel by Sarah Waters. And I've read this twice, I think, yeah. And this, so it's kind of a haunted house story. It's kind of a ghost story. Sort of the main character in the book, you could even say, is the house. Hundreds Hall, I believe it's called. And there is a scene, well, there's a particular scene in this book.
I just mentioned this in my Friday read.
If you've read this novel, I don't even need to go into what the scene is about. If you read this novel, you know what I'm talking about. There is a scene in this book that is the scariest thing I have ever read. And it's what's fascinating, I'm not going to go into it, I don't want to spoil anything for you. But the terror, that it makes you feel, has a great deal to do with the construction of the scene itself, with the decisions she makes as a writer. So it's not necessarily what is going on, but it's how she tells you what's going on, what she keeps from you, what she lets you infer about the I don't know, the positioning of the characters in the scene, where they are, and what that implies. And the scene is just, it's incredibly scary.
Yeah. If you're looking for something scary to read, this is the way to go. Okay. What is your favorite memory of Halloween? I don't know if I have. Actually, no. Okay, so my senior year of high school, I know I was too old to dress up and stuff, but all of my friends, we all lived pretty close together for the most part. We dressed up as all of the different characters from The Wizard of Oz. So one of my friends was Dorothy. We had the lion. She had long hair and she curled it all in ringlets to make a mane. And I was the Scarecrow, and I had overalls. And
do you have photos of this?
It's probably in the yearbook because we won best group.
Oh, that's cool. I haven't seen pictures of this.
So anyway, and I took the kind of faux straw and put it, in the cuffs of everything, and you could tell throughout the high school everywhere I had been because just my costume was slowly shedding throughout the day. And we even went trick-or-treating, and we just had a great time. It was a lot of fun. So anyway, what about you? Favorite Halloween memories?
So I must have been, I was quite young. I mean, I must have been 8 years old maybe, something like that. And they did a haunted house in Cheyenne where I grew up, and my mom took me. Of course, it was my mom, right? My mom was a practical joker. So here's my thing about haunted houses, is they're usually not scary. People's yard decorations, even when they do big outlandish cool things, they're cool, but they're not scary. This haunted house was scary. And I actually didn't see much of it because I was just burying my face in my mom's front, right? I was just so terrified by the sounds. And I did see bits and pieces, like glimpses of things, and they're like burned into my memory. But it was genuinely horrifying, and it was more like a kind of horror film, like a kind of slasher thing going on.
That's interesting.
And it was super, super scary.
Okay, your best or worst Halloween costume. I can't really think of a worst one, but when I was in kindergarten, I was Princess Leia for Halloween, and my mom, I just remember how cool this was. My mom actually braided my hair and then rolled them up into buns on the side of my head.
Must have been really long hair.
I probably had longer hair when I was 5, yeah.
Because if you did that with your hair now,
right? No, it wouldn't be much. It wouldn't be much. They'd be mini.
They'd be like little tumors.
Like little cinnamon rolls kind of thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, that was super cool to go all day around with the braided buns on the side of my hair. So yeah. I mean, the only other costume I really remember, I mean, and you have to keep in mind too, like where we live. I don't know if this was a factor for you, but I mean, we've usually had snow by now, like a significant snowstorm. And so the idea that it could snow on Halloween was a very real thing. We would like make our costumes such so that we could wear our snowsuits underneath, because we were so cold.
We didn't trick or treat, really, when I was little. So I was a kid, and Kelly was a kid during the time when the whole, like, you know, poisoning of Tylenol was a thing. And
you have to like go and check your candy.
Yeah, you had to get your candy like X-rayed at places
checked by the
to
police.
make sure.
Yeah.
Although I can't think that would be good, putting radiation into food that you're gonna be eating.
Couldn't have been very
but yeah, because there were like razor blades and candy bars and things like that.
I do remember
it was
that.
a horrible time. So my parents would drive us to like relatives and friends' houses to get candy.
Yeah.
And that would be pretty much it. And then they would just buy us candy. You know.
I think we did something at church once.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But my favorite costume that I ever had was my mom made me a Viking costume.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. Like, she bought this really itchy brown faux fur, and I had leggings, and I had like a tunic, and I had like a plastic breastplate, and like a plastic helmet with like plastic horns.
Yeah, and you had a sword.
And I had a sword. She made me like boots out of the faux fur that had straps around the side, and it wasn't like a Northman kind of costume. It was more like a Hagar the Horrible kind of costume. But I loved that costume, and it looked super cool. My brother was a vampire that year. He was Dracula that year, and we still have a picture of us standing next to each other, and his face was like all white and red coming down the corner of his mouth. Yeah. And as far as like bad costumes, I don't know that I ever had a bad costume. Really, if I dressed up, you know, our mom made us really great costumes, and if we wanted to dress up, we had good costumes. So
okay, all right. Let's see. How do you get into the Halloween spirit? So I decorate. So we have like a little shelf in part of our main living area that's got like ceramic and metal pumpkins that you could put little tea lights in, and my mom always makes Halloween cards to send us, so I have those. I save those every year. And then I don't know if you can see behind, that's my Halloween garland that I made.
Placemats.
Well, I didn't make that.
Well, yeah, I know, but
I'm gonna get into that later. So okay. Anyway, but yeah. So and then I watch things like Nightmare Before Christmas or The Great Pumpkin, but yeah, that's how I get into the Halloween spirit. How about you?
I suppose I get into it because you get into it. Like, I suppose that's kind of how it
being married to me is just part of the.
So October is my favorite month, and it's my favorite month not because of Halloween, but because of just like how everything smells and how everything sounds and how the air feels. Unfortunately, it's been less like that the last couple of years, you know. Winter seems to be starting later, and granted, we had a proper fall this year for the first time.
Yeah, very
in a long
unusual.
time. So, but I suppose that's sort of how I get into the spirit. And of course, with horror films, you know, I Kelly doesn't watch them, so I watch them with my friend Dan, or we'll watch them in film club sometimes. And I'm going to be watching Dead Ringers today and Exorcist 3 tonight. So
help me, you guys. Okay. All right. So, favorite Halloween decoration. So my mom made us these placemats. They're so cute. And the thing that's really also super convenient about them is that if you flip them over,
they're Thanksgiving.
Then you're ready for Thanksgiving. So it's just really nice, and I love these. And I have a lot of, like, you know, not scary Halloween decorations around. I have this little, this is more of an autumnal decoration, but yeah, so, but the placemats are probably my favorite. And then I do have a lot of Nightmare Before Christmas. I have this little wallet.
You have socks.
I have figurines. I have socks. I have a keychain. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, you bought me a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what about, you want to talk about your, and what's Jason's favorite Halloween decoration is also a favorite of mine, too.
Yeah, so if you grab the tall one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a little ghost figurine. My mom made these along with some pumpkins when I was a kid, and then she offered them to us, and Jason freaked out and just absolutely fell in love with them.
I love that little ghost, yeah.
Here's another one.
And part of the reason why, careful with them there.
Yeah, yeah.
I love the tall one the best.
Yes.
Part of what I love about that ghost is that the folds of the sheet, like, they don't fall in any kind of uniform way, and so it gives it personality. You know, like it feels like there's movement to it. It feels alive underneath the sheet, and then as such, it reminds me actually of the ghost in David Lowery's film A Ghost Story.
It looks a lot like it.
It does, yeah, and. So the main character in A Ghost Story is a ghost, and he is a ghost in that, visually speaking, in that stereotypical ghost way, right? Like, I mean, the character is under a sheet, a long sheet with, like, holes for eyes. He never speaks, and I actually think that A Ghost Story should have been nominated for Best Costume Design at the Oscars for that costume alone, and because it's crazy, like, even though it's just a sheet. Like the folds in it and the way in which the folds communicate the sadness of the character and the tension and the worry and the anxiety of the character, it's just extraordinary. I don't really know how they did it. It wasn't done with special effects or anything. It's just a hell of a good costume. So even though it's a very simple costume, it's a costume that, I don't know, just it communicates what's going on inside the soul of the character, which is kind of amazing. And that little figurine reminds me of the ghost in that, so I think that's part of why I love it so much.
So name one unusual thing that you're afraid of.
Unusual thing that I'm afraid of. I don't know, like unusual? Like,
yeah, I mean, that's what's hard. Like, I'm afraid of, I'm not a fan of snakes.
I'm really afraid of heights.
Yeah.
I'm super afraid of heights.
You're not a huge fan, like, neither one of us are big spider fans.
No.
Remember the apartment we lived in that had the giant moth?
I remember giant moth, but what apartment?
That was on...
Where?
It was the other place we lived here. Remember, we'd be coming down the stairs, and there's this big
it wasn't
stairwell.
In the apartment. It was in...
Yeah, it wasn't in. Thank God.
Yeah, no,
thank God it wasn't in our apartment. But there was a moth.
Yeah. Should have killed that with like a rubber band or something.
Oh.
Like a rubber band gown?
Anyway, it was like just when it was just resting against the wall, it was like that big.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of moths. That's for sure. But I'm not afraid of, like, I don't know. It's really heights. Like, Yeah. Yeah, heights
Okay.
and and then things. Yeah, so weird things. I'm really afraid of sinkholes.
Oh yeah,
I'm
that's
super
great.
super
That's
afraid of
great.
the possibility
Please
of
don't
sinkholes.
send him like reels or
Yeah, sinkholes.
like that of
Sinkholes
sinkholes.
are horrifying
Okay,
to me.
okay.
So that's my answer.
Okay, well
Yeah.
that's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I don't know that I can think of anything terribly creative. I'm afraid of maybe the things that most people are afraid of. So, okay. The next couple of questions, I'm not sure, like, so vampires or zombies? And I don't know if this is like which we prefer or what exactly, but yeah. Or what scares us? What is scarier, vampires or zombies? What do you think?
Well, I think the idea of zombies is scarier. Not like in the whole like eating brains kind of way, but just in the fact that I mean, if we look at
Dead.
no, like if we just I've talked about this on my channel recently, like just the way in which human beings, especially in the Western world these days, are just really inclined to kind of cohere into mobs. And I think there's something zombie-like about mobs, about people who are kind of, I don't know, like fall into a kind of feeding frenzy,
right? Yeah.
And and going after people, et cetera, et cetera.
Werewolves or ghosts?
Definitely
It's
ghosts.
gotta be ghosts. Yeah.
Ghosts are much more interesting.
Yes.
Even though there's some really cool werewolf stuff out there. There are werewolf films that I really like. But
all right,
I love
creepy
ghosts.
dolls or creepy clowns? I say clowns are way scarier than creepy dolls. What about you?
I don't really find either of them scary.
Okay. Interesting.
But I think it depends a lot on the context. You know? Like if you see a creepy doll in a place where there shouldn't be a creepy doll, or if you see like a creepy clown standing in the middle of your street in the middle of the night, that would be scary. Like if I say a creepy clown at a circus, it's just a clown at a circus.
We watched a like pawn shop kind of show on Netflix recently, and I remember how the woman had the room with like, I don't know.
It was hoarders.
No, it wasn't hoarders. It wasn't hoarders.
The lady with all the dolls.
The lady, well, there was a lady on hoarders with the dolls, okay. But this was the woman who had the pawn shop, and then she made this, like, creepy room with, like, clowns.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, and she had dolls in there, too, that were, like...
It was Pickers. No, it wasn't Pickers.
It wasn't Pickers. I don't remember the name of it. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
But anyway, so I mean, in that context, I could see dolls being a little bit creepy, but clowns definitely, for the most part, are probably because of poltergeist. And the last question, do you believe in ghosts? Definitely.
Have you ever seen one?
Based on personal experience. I'm not going to elaborate anymore on that, so.
Oh, I guess I'll have to open that box later.
Sorry.
Yeah, I believe in ghosts. I do. So it just seems like even if it's just like, so when the body dies, right? Like even if you don't believe in a soul, which I do, but even if you don't believe in a soul, the body is animated by energy, and energy doesn't disappear. Like it moves, it goes, it becomes something else. And so even if a ghost is a person's kind of residual energy, sort of hanging out and doing whatever energy wants to do. But I do believe human beings have souls, and I think that souls can be restless upon surviving death, just as souls can be restless and feel aimless during life, I think.
Well, and I don't necessarily, my experiences haven't been like that. They've been more like, I think, after someone has died, like wanting to like reassure me that, like, yeah, like Anyway, I don't want to go into it. All right, so happy
Always
Halloween, everyone. If you have time to do this tag today and you want to, or you want to wait till next year or whatever, if you want to do this tag, then go for it. I will leave the link to the video I found down below, as well as the questions. And like I said, we added in a couple scary books there just to keep it more in line with booktube. But booktube, remember to be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and we'll be back soon with another bookish video.
Adios.
Bye.